Good morning, everyone. It's Ryanico here with the Ryanico's World show, episode, I believe, 3. So let's get started with a quick prayer. Name Father, Son, Holy Spirit. Amen. Hail Mary, full of grace, the Lord is with thee. Blessed are you among women, and blessed is the fruit of thy womb, Jesus. Holy Mary, Mother of God, pray for us sinners, now and at the hour of our death. Amen. Mother of Fatima, pray for us. Father, Son. Amen. Alright, forgot my watch today, but it's okay. So, good morning, everyone. Today is the July 22nd, 2020, and looking forward to everything for the show today. I'm going to shoot for about 30 minutes. My goal is about 25 to 30 minutes between shows, so let's see how it goes. First off, let's do the EWTN news. See how's everything going, what's going on in the Catholic world today. And then we will look up some, obviously if I have some opinion on that. And then from give today's news, if there's anything going on, I'm sure there is. Then there's not too much sports going on. We'll talk a little bit about sports and stock information, investment information. I had to wake up a little earlier today. It's close to 7 o'clock right now, and it is pretty early. I normally wake up at 7, and from there get ready. By the time I push play or record, it's about 7:30. So let's see how's everything going here. EWTN news, U.S. Catholic news. All right. So, St. Junipero Serra could soon be removed from California County seal. Wow, let's look up a little bit more about that. That's crazy. Unbelievable. So let's read a little bit more about that. I'm sure you guys know with the crazy riots, they tried to knock down St. Junipero, and it's pretty sad. Because I would like to say 99.9% of them don't know the history of that saint. We don't put saints into sainthood because they're racist. So we vet them pretty closely. And I think and one of the things they have to vet is they have to have 2 miracles under their belt. Meaning someone has to be called, and someone has to call them out and say, wow, I was given a vision by Saint Junipero or by Junipero. So it is godly. And I don't know about you, but if God signs off on it, on this person being good, I might take his advice. I just might. So with that being said, by Kevin Jones of the CNA, Catholic News Agency, and Denver Newsroom, July 21st, 2020. Proposal to remove St. Junipero Serra from Venturas County official seal is unwarranted, and elected officials need to know Serra's true story. According to the priest who heads the final mission, the Saint Spanish missionary founded in California. So they should talk about it. If you want to talk about stolen land, Catholicism was there at that time. So how do you think Christianity came about? And it's just, we forget about that the true beauty of Catholicism was always there during those slave times, during, any bad time you could think about in American history. Religion has always been there. They just chose the bad part of it. Catholicism is purely good and is universal. So if you want to talk about something that brings everyone together, I don't know about being more together than being universal. So we'll see. And then they continue saying, should the county of Ventura redesign its emblem. Some representation of Juniper Serra is critical to the history of the county and its economic prosperity that we all enjoy today. And that's Father Tom Elewalt, pastor of the Old Mission Basilica of San Buenaventura, and he told them the 21st, July 21st. He also, historic fact supports the good Sarah brought to the indigenous people of Alta California, his spiritual children, he said, stating that indigenous Californians suffered the most after the mission period had ended. Do your homework, read the historical facts, and learn who really abused the indigenous people, not Sarah himself and not the intent of the mission era. Elewalt is the 30th successor of Saint Junipero Serra at the Buenaventura mission. When Pope Francis canonized Sarah during his 2015 U.S. visit, making Sarah the first Hispanic saint to minister in the continental U.S., the mission held a major celebration. Man, the first Hispanic. If you want to talk about minorities, I'm Mexican myself, and it's crazy how this Black Lives Matter, everything's going crazy. It's sad in my opinion, because they just don't know what they want. And I watched one video about the trail of the money from their organization, and they get very, very little for the actual cause. It's an actual international organization, so they spread money out through everywhere, not just them. And it trickles down, and they get very, very little because U.S. is just one country, but they have multiple countries. So, cheers. Have a good coffee day. So, that's one article. Hopefully they vote to keep it on, or any of the what they were proposing to, taking it off. Sarah was often at odds with Spanish colonial authorities over their mistreatment of native Californians, and these indigenous people showed an outpouring of grief at his death in 1784. 1784. That's 1984. That's 250 years, give or take. 230 years in my head now. Close to that. Over 200 years. It's crazy how we forget about things just 200 years ago, what it meant. And let's be honest, indigenous people are Indians, are Native Americans. We try to say those words to put them down. Indigenous, to me, they were normal people. So indigenous meaning, oh, they're far away, these country people. And it could be farther from the truth. So for having many Indian community to side with him after his death, it's pretty amazing. So we look at that. The other one, I saw a Planned Parenthood one. As another one is, as Richmond Diocese marks 200 years, Bishop calls for new springtime. Interesting. Let's see here. New springtime. Let's read that a little. This is by, who is this by? Well, yeah, Catholic News Agency still. For our bicentennial, we ask God to grace us with a new birth, a new springtime for all the faithful here in the Diocese of Richmond. Not sure where Richmond's at. Oh, Richmond, Virginia. No. Here in the Diocese of Richmond, the bishop said in a recent homily, as we celebrate 200 years as a diocese amid a crisis and pandemic, we are reminded as bishop, priests, deacons, consecrated the entire people of God that we are called to be people always centered on Christ. Nestout celebrated Mass at the Cathedral of the Sacred Heart July 11th. The Mass included the ordination of two priests, Anthony Ferguson for the Diocese of Richmond and Julio Reyes for the Diocese of Zacatecoluca, El Salvador. The ordinations had been postponed from an early date due to COVID-19 restrictions, due to ongoing state restrictions limiting church gatherings to 50%. We know that. During the Mass, the cathedral displayed the relics of St. Vincent de Paul, St. John Newman, and St. Catherine Oh, a woman, Saint Catherine Drexel. It also displayed a replica of the apostolic brief, a formal papal letter founding the Diocese of Richmond. So, not too sure as far as what the new beginning is. I guess every day could be a new beginning for anyone. But yeah, there's so much to look at. Essentially, how many people find their faith. So maybe it's a new beginning or a new springtime. They said. Um, let's look at. Oh, look. Catholic wins right to last rites in hospital ICU. Interesting. There's a couple more. There's a Planned Parenthood, but let's read this one. By Matt Hadrow in Washington, D.C. for CNA. Catholic woman has won her case to have a priest visit her critically injured husband at a Maryland hospital, it was announced. Had filed a complaint with the Office of Civil Rights, OCR, at the Department of Health and Human Services in early June. After her husband, Sidney, was critically injured in the ICU but could not see a priest because his condition was deemed not serious enough to warrant a visit. Man, see, this is what the little things that you hear about, even on Fox News, that the church is under attack through this pandemic. Sounds weird, right? But you hear about these little things, how they're very adamant about people not going to church. That was on the CNNs of the world at one point. That I've heard, especially in June, in that time, May and June. And now these things, obviously, you don't hear about. That's why I bring it up. That I'm sure that's one of many people around the country that you can't even have a priest. You can't even have a priest for last rites. And what are last rites? Oh, it's just the priest coming in and saying, no, it's saving your soul. It's some hot, deep stuff to consider. And people who are at their deathbed know. They know. Everything comes in ahead the past whatever years they've been alive. They know, wow, I need something. Especially if they were baptized Catholic. You have something in your head that's always working. But again, we choose to believe it or not. But it will come. Don't worry. So from that standpoint, man, that stinks. That really sucks. That you have to win rights to have last rights. So I hope that comes out more as far as news, because we need to have it. There's science, and then there's the next part is God. Let go and let God. And if you are not even letting us do that, that's rough. I'm sure there's a legal part of it. That's why they didn't mention anything. Or they stopped it, so we just had to push farther. So that's kind of the news for today. Let's go back to the saintly book, because I love it. Yesterday we talked about Albert the Great. Today we're going to talk about Alexander the Charcoal Burner. And I love these because it's a quick read. It's literally for kids, so it helps all of us. This saint became a bishop because the people who lived in his town were snooty and sarcastic. Wow. They didn't mention the years. That's what I'm noticing. But maybe at the end they have the years. Your name, it belongs. No, I don't know why they didn't put the years. Maybe I'm not reading it correctly. Yeah, they have all the table of contents. Wow, there's a lot of saints. Alright, so I guess the books make us do homework. So, alright, let's continue on. And I can look it up real quick. I can ask Google. This saint became a bishop because the people who lived in his town were snooty and sarcastic. Alexander's town needed a new bishop, so the people in charge of finding one selected some candidates and then sent for another bishop. A wise man known as Gregory the Wonder Worker to come and decide which one would be right for the job. Gregory came and talked to all the candidates, but none of them seemed to be the right one. The townspeople wanted him to choose someone rich and influential, but Gregory reminded them that Jesus' apostles had been poor, ordinary men. So one of the townspeople said sarcastically, "Well then, why don't you just pick Alexander the charcoal burner?" Gregory knew this was a smart alecky suggestion, but he surprised them all by sending for Alexander. Boom, the joke's on you. Cool. When Alexander arrived, his clothes were all dirty and ragged because of the work he did, and he certainly didn't look like a bishop. But when Gregory began to talk to him, he found out that Alexander was well educated and a very wise man. Looks can be deceiving. He learned that Alexander had given all of his money away and taken a lowly job so he could live a simple life like Jesus. Gregory knew he had found the right man to be bishop. What began as a joke ended joyfully. The charcoal burner became a good and holy bishop, a helpful teacher, and a saint. So, man, that's crazy. Who would have thought? So, people who don't know the levels, I guess, of clergy, I think I'm saying that right. There's the laity, which are us. We encompass the body of the church. So that's first level. Then I don't know how you call it in Spanish, but laico. So like devoted, the people who are us, but a little more devoted to the church. Your servers, your ushers, the people who work at the church, who get paid for it. They basically are a little bit ahead because they put more focus on the church. And the next part are your priests. And then the next part are, well, I shouldn't even say us because I think clergy is different from us. But I'm just saying from the very, very beginning how it starts. But you have your priest, then you have your bishop, then you have your archbishop, then you have your cardinal, and then the pope. I may be wrong. I may be missing one. Look it up. But I know the bishop is, in the business world, I like to call him, he's the regional manager. Not at Dunder Mifflin, no. Nor the assistant to the regional manager, if you know that reference. So it's pretty high up. If you work in a corporate type setting job, I would call them even higher than your regional manager. Regional manager is mostly your priest. I'm talking about your area director, who takes care of multiple cities in a state or multiple states. So very important position, and they put that guy, Alexander, right? Yeah, Alexander the charcoal burner. That was pretty interesting. Turned out as a joke, and it didn't. So it was pretty neat how it happened. And we just never we always underestimate the beauty of God and what Jesus brings to us. Could you imagine yourself stop what you're doing and live a simple life? Charcoal burner at that time? I mean, think about it. Charcoal and a burner. Especially here in Texas, I don't want anything to do with that includes burning. It's already hot enough. So it's pretty neat how he gave up everything, especially money today. So think about the money, how it's very connected to us and how we can't live without it. There's some people do. Those are strong people. They say, forget about it. I can live a simple life with nothing other than food and shelter. And you work. So you learn the beauties of it by being humble. And Alexander did it. So I'm curious what year was that. One little flaw of the little book. I guess as a kid, for the kids' book, you don't really need to know the years. But I'll look it up. The year for Alexander the charcoal burner. Let's see. Wow! Let's just see it. Can you see it? Maybe? No? It says 251. Alexander, St. Alexander died as the charcoal burner. This is from Wikipedia. Was in Pontus. Bishop of Cumana in Pontus. I don't know what that's at. Interesting. Wow, 251. And they were sarcastic back in 251. Think about it. 251. That's Jesus was passed away or died and resurrected in what, year 31? And that was 251? So a little over 200 years? That's crazy. So it was pretty interesting at that time. And they were still sarcastic at that time. Crazy. Alright, let's go to the investments. I always like to see if you guys have your investments. I encourage you to take up investments. And I like using Robinhood. I'm not getting paid for anything, but I just am a normal John Doe. I like it. Find any of those. There's Stockpile, there's Stash, all these new companies that have been out for a couple years now. They have a lot of assets under the belt. So when they have assets and money under their belt, other investors go into it. What I've noticed is Robinhood is kind of at the top front, and it's so easy now. You can do fractional shares. I liked Stockpile because you can pay for like transaction for 99 cents, and that was it. And there's some of them that you don't even pay no transaction fees, so it's really neat. But regardless, any of those, there's Acorn as well, and any of those, just put money in the market. And I'm coming from a financial advisor perspective. I don't have my license anymore. I let them expire, but I was in the financial investment world for about 3 years, and I learned so much. I still practice to this day. And it's crazy that people just don't think about it. And we just have to put money. We risk our lives every day. Why can't we risk some percentage points to gain more than that? So I love the saying in the industry, it's not timing the market, it's time in the market. Just put, and now you can put as little as $5 in an account and you're a stockholder. So I mean, it's just take advantage of the opportunity that they have. It's better than a savings account. Savings account is nothing. I used to tell prospects, they're like, "Oh no, I keep my money safe, and it's not losing money." I'm like, right, you're safely losing money. That's what it is, because inflation. You get literally 0.008%, which is 0.01 is 1%, and it's just nothing. You're making literally pennies every year, or maybe every 2 years. So it's ridiculous. You definitely have to look at that. But that's my financial world. That's why I want to talk about it, because we all have to have that, because in the future, have life insurance with this pandemic going on. Look it up. If you don't have the crazy coronavirus, I would highly suggest look up insurance. Just because I like Ben Shapiro, I'll throw him. He has his own partnerships with Policy Genius, or I don't know what you would call it. I call it partnership. But you get a discount, some of a discount, if you go with him with Policy Genius. So I looked that up. I looked up quotes. They reached out to me. Haven't pulled the trigger yet, but I have to, because you just never know what's going to happen in this world. So it's always good to care for others, especially for my wife and kids. And moving on, the Nasdaq's at 10,680. The New York Stock Exchange is at 12,508. And Dow Jones at 26,840, which is up about 0.5%. I don't want to talk about too much about U.S. futures. That goes up and down all the time. So news medias, what a coincidence, Bloomberg is talking about it, how it goes into the narrative of, oh, it says U.S. futures slip on rising tensions with China. You can insert anything. U.S. futures slip on what, and then insert whatever your agenda is. So I don't like to talk about futures because it goes up and down. It's more volatile than you can imagine. So and when President Trump won, literally as they're showing him walking to, I guess, give his speech like at 1 o'clock or 2 o'clock in the morning, knowing that he won officially, they said on the little, what do you call it, the sidebars essentially on the bottom, the title, that U.S. futures are going down. And I was like, it's literally before open of the market, and it's very volatile after market in general, let alone the futures. But people don't know that. They just think, oh my gosh, going up. They probably even think the market's open. So it's ridiculous. So again, don't want to talk too much about it. Wall Street Journal, then this is in the Apple stock section. Wall Street Journal, California's coronavirus case total now highest in the U.S. That's wonderful. What does that have to do with investments? Because as we know that large companies, your multinational companies have already bounced back. There's certain industries that just didn't. The airlines, whole separate issue. But your Coca-Colas of the world, your Walmarts of the world, your Johnson Johnsons, your Pepsi, your Frito-Lay, your who else? All these big companies, Netflix, then your tech companies, your Microsoft, Facebook, Google, they all bounced back. So they're doing all right. But they equate it from, okay, the high turnout, and they're not talking about deaths now. They're talking about cases. So they scared us with death in the very beginning. Now they scare us with cases. So I don't get it. It's just, it doesn't matter in my opinion. You can be real sick, and as a Catholic, you can even ask for your last rites. So it's just, we should fight for that. So it's crazy. And probably one more here. What is it? The share of Americans in their 20s moving home is skyrocketing. Tell me about it. Oh my goodness. No, you're not a man. That's what it comes down to. Again, I drive for Lyft, and there's so many young people, young men, who just can't even wear a simple polo, let alone tuck it in, let alone khakis, let alone just a nice pair of jeans with no cuts or holes in it. And it's just, the idea of a gentleman, literally gentle man. I'm curious how it started, but just the word itself is a nice theme, and it's going away. Talk about being in college. You think that's gonna make you more mature, and to the contrary. So I'm very against this new wave that's been going on for a while, and just be a man. When I say that, it has nothing to do with being macho. It's be compassionate, but take control. I'm telling you, it's the weirdest thing. Women love when guys are in control. It's the craziest thing. And I'm not even a player or a woman's man to realize that. There's a certain level of it. You don't want to control completely and be a jerk. But there's some times where it's very valiant. It's very attractive sometimes that a woman feels secure that her partner, her husband, her boyfriend knows what to do in times of crisis. That's a beautiful feeling for a woman. I don't know, but I could imagine. I know my wife tells me that. So it's a beautiful feeling when you say, wow, he knows how to take control of our family. And for the better. Of course, I include everything. My son, our sons, my wife. For the better of our family, I take control, whatever it can be. But there's no one There's a saying, you don't have no back spine, or you don't have, I think it's, you don't have no spine, you're spineless, because you're just soft. And when I'm talking about soft is getting insurance. I mean, I had insurance for the longest time until I started working for Lyft. They didn't offer it through work, but there itself, and honestly, it's very simple. They already offer it in your benefits package. So, and here I looked up quotes, is literally $10 a month. That is a sign of being a man and caring for your family, taking control of the future for your family. And those are biggest things. And looking at overall, what does that mean for other people? So definitely look at, how even dressing up, that can motivate a young man to become more mature. And oh my gosh, both of my neighbors live, they're older, 20s, late 20s, and they live with their parents. And it's okay. And I'm sorry, it's not. It's just, and there's nothing wrong of either way. Like, you can live with your parents, that's fine. But if you want to become a man and mature, you have to learn how to take some licks in life. You have to learn to suffer in life, because you learn through those failures. You learn through the suffering. And if you have someone with you on your side, that's the most beautiful feeling. Like, we suffered together and we're still together. We may live in a one-bedroom apartment or a studio apartment, but it's ours. The sense of ownership of your feelings, of your actions, there's nothing. So, I don't know. My dad and mom raised me well. My grandpa always said, Nico, whatever you do, don't live with your parents when you get married. A lot of Mexican people do it. They think it's normal, and yes, but you have your own life. And that's what he did. He was in the 50s when he decided to do that. He had a very, very small home here in Texas, and they could have lived with their family. And he says, no, we're going to get a house. It was about like $5,000 for the house. It was cheap. And they had to work on it, he said, but it was theirs. And he built his house room by room when they moved to Ohio. So that's valiant. That's taking control of your family in a very, very positive and godly way. And again, that's what's being a man. Being responsible. Being proactive. Thinking about others, not yourself. How, oh man, it's going to be hard. Do it. And I'm telling you, it's a good feeling. I went through craziness. My wife stuck with me, and she knew I can do it. And it's just a good feeling. So don't be scared, man. Don't feel like, oh my gosh, I can't do this. I know there's so much fear in this world today. F it. Do it, and I'm telling you, it will work out. So